To Digital Cafe. This is Mike Koenigs. I'm here today with Mr. Joe Polish, and we've even got bottom thirds. Right now, that's my bottom third. It says CEO of TrafficGeyser.com.
Wow.
Right over there. Look at that camera. This is Joe Polish. Know that one right there?
I love marketing host.
Host. Is that okay?
Yeah, I'm here at Mike's studio. This is the first time I've actually ever done an interview with Mike or a conversation. This ain't even really an interview because we're both going to be talking to each other. And you look like you're sweating a little. Are you cold?
I am. You know what? I just turned on the air conditioning.
Around me? Is that what it is?
I'm very nervous. Just a second here. I'll just dab my brow.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm a good brow dabber.
People do get intimidated because of my vast marketing knowledge that I have. And when they sit in my presence, they're like, whoa.
Isn't your middle name Vaster?
I don't even know what that means.
Faster than thou. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So the air conditioning will continue to kick on here.
No worries.
We're in on the weekend.
Yeah.
Sunday morning, in fact, and we're going to be talking about some cool stuff.
Totally.
So what I've got here is just so you're aware, we don't even have operators here today. We're remote controlling this whole thing, which is pretty cool.
So what is this? So you have a pretty intense, I guess, understanding of not only marketing and delivery systems, but video and audio and all kind of editing. You've made movies before. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that you do. Where are we? What are we doing? So for people that are watching this on Genius Network, I Love Marketing, wherever you decide to put this, what are we doing?
Okay, well, basically we're at my new studio. I just finished building this.
Yeah.
And I will say, like any technology thing, it's always a bit of a let's just put it this way, always making tweaks and refinements. But my goal was to create a studio that I could produce a show with zero operators, with zero editing. So
do you want to be cooler than Dean Graziosi?
Oh, I already am. He already admits it. He walked in here. He called me a lot of expletives.
Yeah.
And
I love that. I love when marketers are actually at each other's.
Oh yeah, I know. It's fantastic. So he shouted expletives at me. I made him a video, and he said, well, I'm going to knock everything off that you're doing right now.
Yep.
So he said, but honestly, he said, you're 3 years ahead of me, and what the whole objective here was to basically grab the most cost-effective, high-definition equipment and be able to produce shows like what we're doing right now, which is essentially going to be a podcast, and be able to do live broadcasts. So what I'm able to do, like I'm switching live, so I've just switched. You can look at the preview down here. That's the main view, which is the center camera, and I can switch to you if you're looking at me, and then I can switch back to me for a shot. So I'm actually, basically controlling this, and it takes a little bit of time.
Can I do a death stare right into the camera?
Yeah, you can do a death stare right now.
That's powerful.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
that's
if
powerful.
you've watched up to this point, there you go. You got it.
It's powerful marketing is what it is. But you'll notice that I just cut to the center shot right now, so both of us can look at our audience at the same time.
Pretty cool.
And I can turn to this camera like that. Hi, how you doing? And then I can turn back to you, and you can look at the other camera. Give it no, not that one. That one there. Yeah, give him a death stare. Death stare. Man, look at that.
Look at that.
Oh. But then we can turn back to this camera right now, and we're together.
Pretty awesome. So people that are watching this that may never obviously get anywhere near this level of production and do this, how is this relevant to them? I mean, why should they care? Yeah,
well, the reason why is I believe right now a person can take an iPhone and shoot a video and broadcast it to the entire connected planet. So you got 6-point-some billion people, like you just did. You did a mini tour.
For the first time ever, I've always used flip videos just because they're easier for me to hold and point at myself, and I like pointing at myself and talking. That's kind of, And so, but for the first time ever, just a few minutes ago, right before we started, I actually shot on my iPhone a video and then uploaded it it's uploading right now as we speak to YouTube, which, I mean, of course, I just never had done that before. So the point is, I've created hundreds of videos, but I'm always trying to learn new ways to get information out there. Because one of the things we'll even touch on is the whole process of canning and cloning yourself, which is an original Gary Halbert statement. As a marketer, you want to take your message, you want to take your story, just like musicians, would record music, stamp them out, they'd can and clone themselves. Well, anyone that has anything to share for profit in a business, education, mission, whatever, any sort of way that you can get it out to the world, all the better, and it's becoming easier and easier. So yeah, that kind of leads into your understanding of why to do this and how to do this in more, I guess, gigantic, impactful, higher quality ways.
Yeah, I'd say, like, for me, some of the best resources in the world right now, TED Talks, for example, are one of them, other than Genius Network and 25K Group and I Love Marketing, of course.
Yeah, I mean, those are the standards.
Sure. But in addition to that, what you have are, take a look at, like, TED Talks I think should be taught in every school in the world.
I agree. TED's awesome.
And it's ideas worth spreading. That's their tagline. The next one is Khan University. Why? Because they're giving away high quality education, starting from 1+1, and then moving all the way up to. I mean, you can go and do advanced biochem, and I believe like nuke physics plus computer science plus. I mean, advanced biochemistry.
Right.
You could literally get a free college education, and I would probably suspect it's probably better than you can get at many universities. Completely free of charge. So the entire world.
You know what? I mean, that's a big statement too, and the one that would annoy certain people. And
I think that's good.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree because and you say most universities. Maybe there's a handful that really teach great entrepreneurism.
Well, let's say 100 or 1,000, but whatever it is. Yeah. I think right now, and I've said this publicly. I believe tenure is a filthy word. Okay, I believe a teacher who only teaches is irrelevant. Teachers, unless they're teaching people how to think, you know, liberal arts has a tremendous amount of value, and I'll never take anything away from that. And obviously, I'm making a far-reaching statement here. But the whole idea is, I respect teachers who still do. Okay, because if you're not constantly testing and refining, especially in this day and age, processes and ideas, a lot of them are going obsolete. And I believe the world needs problem solvers now more than anything, and leaders. And I don't know if true problem solving and true entrepreneurial skills are taught in schools.
Right.
Right.
Well, and let me say something to that too, because
then we'll tell everyone. Maybe what we'll do is then we'll tell you what you're going to learn in this fabulous video. Because if we haven't lost you by now, because we're just a bunch of stink bugs. Well, two stink bugs sitting here, two little stink bugs in a row.
No, I'll say this. There's that Stephen Covey line, which is to know but not to do is not to know. To know but to understand but not to do is not to understand. Yep. And it's one thing about if someone's actually, I know that I've never been shot, but I have a pretty good sense that I don't need to get shot in order to know that would be a bad thing.
So there are
certain things you just don't need to per se do in order to really get it. However, when it comes to actually teaching success principles or teaching technique, even if you don't, there's many things that I've done in the past that I'll teach other people to do that I've already gone through. But yeah, certainly, I mean, I want to, if I'm going to learn the skill of making money, which is much of what we teach people how to do, I actually want to learn advice from people that have actually made money.
Totally.
If I want advice on how to maintain a relationship, I don't want to ask, my friends that have been divorced 15 times, that sort of deal.
Exactly.
So it applies to education here too, and there's just a massive amount of education being given to people to do things from people that have never done it. And so, that's my whole point.
All right, so maybe what we'll do is I've got on the teleprompter in the back here a couple of questions, some ideas that got thrown around here before we began, and what I'm going to do is just kind of read through some of them. We'll decide what we're going to talk about today, so we've actually provided some value, and then we'll get back to just pure tomfoolery. And I don't know about shenanigans, but we'll say tomfoolery. So,
isn't it lame how Frank Kern actually stole that use of that word from us?
Shenanigans?
Yes.
I think he took that from me, or did he take that from me?
No, I don't know. I have no idea. I just wanted to bust on Frank.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's not a very nice man.
He is. He's terrible. Terrible man.
Yeah,
all right, so here we go. I know one of the things that I want to talk to you about, which I think everyone that I know would like to know, is you were just at a Dan Kennedy event. You closed... How much of the room?
Well,
okay,
there was 1,200 people in the room. 500 stood in line in order to get my stuff.
But something broke, but we'll get to the details,
but we ended up getting about 258 sales, and if you look at it in terms of people in the room, we're all 1,200 individual people. No, there were many couples, there were people, there were companies, or
so big numbers, but I want to find out the how, like how you did it without giving it away right now, because we're just going to go through, because we got a list of stuff. So one of them is, this is just an idea. I mean, you're arguably the best connector that I know.
Some people say that about me. I mean, I won't say it about me.
Oh, yeah, it's all right. I read it in New York Times, and I'm just repeating what I read.
Yes.
But what I would say is, networking is an incredibly valuable skill to have. Okay. Right. Another one is what some ways that businesses are leaving money on the table. Like what kind of just quick tips. Okay. A couple things that we have in here: the difference between let's see, how can small businesses use internet marketing, difference between email marketing, social network marketing. We've got some, some ideas here. So what I'll do is we'll just kind of figure this out as we go along. I think we'll just dive into it, and we'll invent stuff. And maybe what we'll do is we'll do about an hour interview or so. That'll be good, valuable content we can share with our friends. And why don't we begin with the Dan Kennedy thing, because I think that's a juicy nugget. And I'm always interested in understanding like how to close more effectively, how to sell more effectively, the psychology of the sell, and you're not a hard salesman at all. You don't.
Never. And I don't. And frankly, there are some people that are very skilled at doing dog and pony shows and getting very hardcore to the point of polarizing. And actually,
we don't know any of those people, but in case we would, we've definitely heard of things like that before.
And look, I understand the game. I mean, and when I say the game, I mean, I've read lots of sales training books. I've been a salesperson since I was probably born, I guess. But I don't think people are born salespeople.
Selling hot dogs to vegetarians, for example, which is just.
I used to. I mean, I did all the things that a kid would do, from selling newspaper subscriptions door to door to, I sold Kirby vacuums for a couple of weeks in college, and then I got a more professional sales job. But I've been selling my whole life, and selling, of course, is just literally persuading people to do what it is you want them to do, and hope that you have something that they will, in the business world, give you money for.
Right.
But everything's a sales job.
Yep.
I mean, every word that comes out of a person's mouth is either designed to attract someone to you or repel someone. And part of the selling, in business, like for me, I have the highest level mastermind group in the world for direct response marketers. People, the criteria, make a net income of $1 million a year or more is kind of what we aim for. We'll fudge it a little if there's someone that just is super awesome, but they all got to have money. I mean, they all got to be able to cut a check, and it's not even about cutting a check. So I deal with very high level sort of sales, very high price sales, and so part of my marketing there is not about, trying to get everyone to pay attention to the message. It's actually very laser targeted, and most of it is to repel, to sift, sort, and screen people. So to go to the Kennedy event, I was actually doing a presentation on the 7 things that I learned from Gary Halbert. 7 of the top things that I learned.
For anyone who doesn't know who Gary Halbert is, just the short version.
Gary Halbert was a brilliant copywriter who actually was self-taught. I mean, he learned how to put words on paper before the internet, big direct mail guy, and just understood the psychology of how to sell people using words. And Gary would always say that any problem in the world can be solved with the right sales letter. And when I first heard that, I didn't really quite believe it, but I had my first proof that that is true. I even brought it here because I had this when I was doing a live webcast yesterday. I had this with me. My very first Gary
Maybe
Halbert.
Hold that up for people in front of your face. This on this side. Turn to that camera.
Look at that, fancy.
Okay.
This is a template. This is just something that I offer my my clients that are professional carpet and upholstery cleaners, because one of the niches that I started my direct response business in was I actually was a dead broke carpet cleaner living off credit cards. I was good. I was certified. I had the technical skills, but I didn't know how to get people to give me money. And I started reading the Gary Halbert newsletter that a friend had given me by accident. So it was a total fluke how I actually fell into learning marketing, pretty much in the same way it's a total fluke how I ever got into the carpet cleaning industry, because it's kind of one of those accidental industries. I wasn't growing up saying I want to own a carpet cleaning company. I mean, I just needed money, and I kind of, it's hard work, and it's one of those, lots of what people do in their life, even if they went to college, what they end up doing is not what they end up doing.
Right.
I mean, I'm even amazed.
You could have a podcast called "I Love the Smell of Cat Pee," for example. That would be
for some people may perhaps subscribe to that. Well, that's an idea. We should talk about that later. That was powerful. I love the smell of cat pee. But yeah, well, here's what's even kind of funny about cats. I'm allergic to cats, and when I had my carpet cleaning business, I used to go and clean these apartment complexes for $20 to $25 to $30 a unit. Then they would pay me in a very timely manner, 60 to 90 days later on these accounts receivable thing. And I live in Arizona, and when you're allergic to cats, you like wheeze, right? Because you can't breathe. And I remember times where I would be working 12-hour days, and there'd be 1 or 2 units that would be frickin' littered with like like cat hair and cat urine and smell like crap, and I'd be carrying this portable steam cleaner upstairs, running an extension cord all the way to the bottom, and it's literally like cleaning carpets in a sauna because there's no air conditioning, right? And then you're allergic and you're wheezing at the same time. That is freaking hard work.
It sounds awesome to me.
There is something that comes out of ever being in a really miserable situation and something you hate, where you kind of are motivated to do something about it.
That's the story of, from me, from the moment I became conscious, let's say around 4 or 5 until I left. No offense to Eagle Lake, Minnesota, but it was a big motivator because, growing up with 35 degrees below zero, I was never built nor ever designed to be in anything cold, and I was a walking expletive. Everything that came out of my mouth rhymed with truck, started with F, and I cursed weather. I mean, seriously, like my entire life. So anyway, now that everyone has this valuable information and they know about cat pee and marketing, let's get into the nuggets. Because
well, let me say this then. So my first example of copy to kind of tie in Gary Halbert was I actually all I was doing was advertising price. That was the only way I knew how to actually, the worst offer in the world is no offer at all. The second worst offer is price, because the only criteria given someone is price. So I had to figure out ways to communicate why someone should do business with me other than price. And I paid a copywriter $1,800 to write my very first consumer awareness guide, and I learned about the concept of can and clone yourself. How do you replicate your sales message? Every day people would call, not every day, but when I was getting any calls at all, people would ask, how much do you charge? And I would explain what method I use, how I clean carpets. It's the same sort of stuff. And so I was like, it's all the things that people don't know that they don't know, that as a marketer, it's your job to convey to them to position yourself differently than competitors. So I was like, I came up with the 7 questions to ask a carpet cleaner before you invite them into your home. 8 mistakes to avoid when choosing a carpet cleaner. How to avoid 4 carpet cleaning ripoffs. The difference between value and price. Crawling critters and crud. A guide to the slime, grime, and livestock that's seeping, creeping, and galloping through your carpet. All these things, and I put them into a consumer awareness guide so that people can make an informed, intelligent decision. Because that's all that people want to make, is an informed, intelligent decision, not be
ridiculed
stupid,
by their family, for example.
People don't want to make idiotic decisions. The number one question in all people's minds is, who can I trust? And your job as a marketer is to convey trust so that people will do business with you.
Is that really the case? Is that really what people have going, is who can I trust?
Well, that's one. I think it's the number one. There's many reasons. I mean, sometimes, people may not trust someone at all, but they want to associate with the person because they're a celebrity.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, many sort of dysfunctional purchases where people, it's like someone's not going to buy cigarettes from a tobacco company because they trust the tobacco company.
Right.
They're addicted to nicotine. They're so I'm saying when it comes to ethical, legitimate buying decisions where there is a competitor. Meaning, if the world's supply of toilet paper evaporated tomorrow, God forbid that would ever happen. But do you know, I think toilet paper wasn't even invented until the 1800s. What would a guy like you have done prior to that? You know what I'm saying? Just think about that.
You know what? Rabbits. Lots of rabbits.
But here's my point, though.
Bunnies and kittens.
Yeah, sunshine and kittens. So,
I'm sorry about that. I can't help myself.
I love these tangents. But
you bring out the best in me. I just want you to know that.
I bring out the best in everybody.
You do.
No. Okay. So here's the thing, though. If you have a product or a service where there's no other available option, you don't need to be a savvy marketer. You don't need an opt-in page. You don't need compelling copy. You don't need testimonials. If the world's supply of toilet paper ran out tomorrow and you have a garage full of it, you need a cardboard sign, you put it in your front lawn, you can probably sell it for $50 a roll. Right? Now, if you are in a situation where you do have competition, where there are other available options, where people really don't need to buy what it is you're selling, especially like carpet cleaning. People always say, well, I'm a doctor, I'm a web designer, what does, you're talking about carpet cleaning, what does that have to do with me? And I'll tell you, man, when you have to learn how to sell a product or service that nobody wants to buy, you have to figure out certain elements. And if anyone has something even remotely more exciting or sexy than a carpet cleaning service, they could probably apply these techniques. Now, how does that apply back to the thing we originally started with, the Dan Kennedy
thing? Okay. So here you are. We got, and what you guys, the 7 things, what was the hook again? The 7 things?
Like right here, it's how to avoid 4 carpet cleaning ripoffs, 6 costly misconceptions about carpet cleaning, 8 mistakes to avoid when choosing a carpet cleaner, that sort of stuff. Now, when someone would open this up, typically before figuring out how to use copy, and I will tell you, words are powerful. copy is the oxygen that makes all of your marketing work. Anything that I say here on video is still copy. If anyone's getting anything out of me talking right now, it's because I'm saying certain things, and if I said different words or I talked Chinese and someone didn't, it wouldn't make any sense. So there's this great line which is the only thing worse than singing the wrong note is singing it louder. So you got to have the right copy, okay? And so, a lot of people think selling is yelling. Like the entire auto industry, they don't do very sophisticated, good education-based marketing. They're like low price, get someone in, sick a salesperson on him, and people love to be sold. They hate to be pressured. And so whenever someone associates pressure or being talked in with selling, they tend to get this bad attitude towards marketers. So how do you actually,
I think the distinction here is salesmen versus marketers, because there is a big difference between them, in my opinion, because everyone hates an obnoxious salesperson. But I would argue that people love to be marketed to, especially with the level of sophistication we have. I mean, auto industry...
I'll tell you this. Let's take a heterosexual male, okay? All right.
Let's just pretend.
And he's single. And there is a very attractive woman that would be attractive to him. And she came up to him and used pressure, used selling, used subtle, whatever, but just showed some level of interest on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being very high, 1 being, most guys in that situation...
1 being the level of interest you get, for example, when you walk into a... Okay.
I love how we can insult each other. This is the Gran Torino version of how to do a I Love Marketing interview with Mike. So the thing is, most people would not perceive that as pressure because they're interested in it. See, when someone really wants something and you're really speaking to them and you understand, Robert Collier, who wrote a book years ago.
I still have that. It's a fantastic book. Yeah.
He one of the greatest lines ever as a marketer, as a copywriter. You want to enter a conversation that's already existing in your prospect's mind. Whenever you enter a conversation that's existing in your prospect's mind, it's not perceived as selling. It's not perceived as pressure. Now, can someone switch it around and become very annoying? Yeah. So it's not that selling is bad, it's how it's done. Just like a knife can be given to a murderer or a knife can be given to a surgeon. You can do completely different things for it. You can use a gun to go and hunt for food, or you can use it to rob people. It's not the selling or the marketing that's bad, it's the application of it. The problem is people hear marketing and selling and they instantly come up with a negative connotation with it. Yeah. So what I did at the Kennedy thing,
so and I'm going to frame this a little bit because what I want to do is, obviously, as much fun as we have, I want to make sure we're providing that value, which is, you made a platform presentation, which basically means you had a slideshow and you kind of went through it, and you ended up making an offer for a $495 product.
$497. It was the Gary Halbert XXX Audios, which is a consultation I'd paid Gary Halbert in 1997. $11,500 to spend 2 days with him, and John Carlton were there, and a couple of other just really bright marketers were there, and I recorded all of this for my personal use, never thinking I would turn it into a product, had the whole thing transcribed. It's brilliant. I mean, it's just some of the greatest marketing wisdom on psychology ever, but I had that because Dan Kennedy got his actual first copywriting job from Halbert's company, Halbert's Inc., way back when. Paid him $500. I think that was Dan's first copywriting gig. And so Dan, really was good friends with Gary, and Gary became one of my very best friends, and John Carlton was probably Gary's dearest friend in the whole marketing world. And so, I had these recordings, these audios that is immensely valuable to any marketer. And so here's an audience, Dan Kennedy's, clients, Glazer Kennedy, and it was a Glazer Kennedy event. And basically, so I was going to speak on what I learned from Gary Halbert, and I was going to make an offer for those recordings. And so what I did, some of the methodology of how I did it, the real kicker is, I taught robotic marketing strategies like can and clone yourself. See, I could talk to people all day long about how to choose a carpet cleaner, but it's much easier if they read a consumer awareness guide. If they read this in advance, than they are, if all they care about is low price, they're not going to hire me or one of the higher priced cleaners, because I have thousands of cleaners all over the world that use consumer awareness guides. And I say, thousands of service businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, when Yellow Pages, and believe it or not, even in this day and age when people think Yellow Pages are dead, I still have lots of people that make multiples of a return on their Yellow Pages, because there's three things you need in order to sell something. You need a product or service, you need a sales pitch, and you need a delivery system. So Yellow Pages is a delivery system. Consumer Awareness Guides is a delivery system. A website is a delivery system. A video like this is a delivery system. Social networking, email marketing. A website is simply an electronic brochure in a lot of ways. So you need a sales process. And so basically, it's all can and clone. And so when I was teaching the audience, I was actually teaching them how to automate your marketing, because selling is what you do when you're on the phone or face-to-face with somebody. Marketing is what you do to get someone on the phone or face-to-face with you, properly positioned. The key word is position. The reason I sold so well is the audience was well positioned, because I taught them valuable stuff. I taught them how I was delivering it to them, and then I used a video sales letter. The kicker, I think at that presentation, I reinvented the way that people will sell from the platform, because I didn't even do it myself. I actually played a video that my very good friend and brilliant marketer, probably the best guy in the world for understanding.
Next to me, of course.
Yeah, well, anyway. In this area, this guy is the best. His name is John Benson.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And John is a ninja, and he just understands, he calls them ugly videos. It's just literally PowerPoint or Keynote, black text with maybe a little bit of red, and you talk, and that's what you see. And I literally played a 7.5-minute video. Now, if I just would have got up on stage and played a video sales letter, would I have made some sales? Maybe, from people that are really already understood Gary Halbert. But what I needed to do first, it's not just about showing a video, because I've seen people attempt to do this since I've done this, and they just pitch the audience. They don't give them any value whatsoever. They don't properly, teach them.
They didn't pre-sell them.
Right, they don't pre-sell. And so what I did was I taught the audience not only what I learned from Halbert, like use theater in your marketing and can and clone yourself, and any problem in the world can be solved with the right sales letter, and I really explained what that meant. For instance, if you have a son, right? And say your son, and hopefully this will never happen, but say your son needed a kidney transplant, right? And there's a waiting list. I guarantee you, because you're a marketer and you understand how to write copy, you could come down to this studio and record a video, and you can put a plea out there, a communication out to the world, make sure it lands into the right medical establishments, the right people watch it. You have a higher likelihood of having your son get a kidney transplant or finding a kidney than someone that doesn't have that marketing knowledge. Now, we can say that's unfair. Well, yeah, maybe it is unfair. Well, according to what, though? If what you can do with marketing is incredible. When you learn how to can and clone yourself, I was limited by the clock. It doesn't matter how good of a salesperson I was. If I talk to someone on the phone or go visit them face-to-face, you're limited by the clock. But with the right video, with the right sales letter, you can talk to 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, sometimes millions of people, all at one fell swoop. On ilovemarketing.com, I did an interview with Richard Branson on Necker Island, and we put that video up. Within a week, 9,000 people had viewed that video. What if I had to distribute that one-on-one? I mean, you can't do it. So that's what I taught the audience. And so after I set the stage by giving tremendous value and showing them actual techniques that they could use, before I ever asked them to give me money, I said to them, everything I've been talking about, using free recorded messages, because I taught them how to see, because I actually told the story of how one of the first things I used was a consumer awareness guide, and then I turned the consumer awareness guide into a 24-hour free recorded message. And then when people see, because when I first created this, there was no Google, there was no internet. I literally had to put stamps on stuff and mail it to people. And so when someone would call, and start asking how much you charge, and I'll say, well, what's more important to you, value or price? Well, it's kind of a tricky question, because what are they going to say? Price? They're going to say, well, I would engage them in a conversation. But I hated that, because I could spend 20 minutes explaining how to choose a carpet cleaner, and then you could always hear a question like this: well, that sounds good. Let me talk to my husband or wife, and I'll call you back. Well, I didn't want to deal with that. I mean, my time is gone. But a robot that can deliver a 10-minute recorded message, or a 10-minute thing on this, is much better. So I was originally mailing this to people, but if they wanted their carpets cleaned the next day, they needed something instantaneously. Now with the internet, you don't have to worry about it. This is all automated. But back then, so I paid this copywriter another $250 to take the free recorded message script, the Consumer Awareness Guide and turned it into a free recorded message script, and all of a sudden I had a 10-minute recorded message on how to choose a carpet cleaner. And when people would call, I'd say, call and listen to this message, and then it would sift, sort, and screen people and only deliver people to me that were pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, and predisposed to give me money. And my goal with that speech was, by the time I played the video sales letter, I wanted to deliver so much value to that audience, and I wanted to teach them marketing techniques so that they were pre-interested, pre-motivated, pre-qualified, and predisposed. And one thing I did is I said, and by the way, I'm going to pitch you. Some of you here are going to give me money, and I'm not even going to ask you for the money live. Like I'm talking to you now, a robot's going to do it. And I basically told them what I was going to do. And then I literally said, okay, now watch this. And while you're there, and people were freaked out. And the coolest thing is the camera crew kept the video cameras running even after they shut off my mic, and you see the line all around the ballroom, and over 200 people dropped out of the line because they thought they were going to miss out on the offer. There was not enough people to actually get the order forms. It was crazy. And so the staff there said that was...
So you would have had about 500 orders out of the 1,200 people there.
I'd say between 400 to 500 if... but we weren't expecting it. And first off, I was happy with it. I donated a bunch of the money to the Make-A-Wish Foundation as a result of it. I said $100 from every order would go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation because I'm a big supporter of Make-A-Wish. And so it was super cool. It was super cool. But I was happy because it proved that all of the robotic marketing that I was teaching people there works in all kinds of environments. Because I even said, I go, I'm doing manual labor here. That's selling live. That's not a sales letter. That's not, I'd love to figure out how to actually just play a video and not have to show up and everyone just gives me a ton of money in a live environment.
Automated webinars with instant customer.
Yeah,
there you go.
For instance, this is one of, can I show this?
Yeah, no, okay. Totally. And then hold that up to your mic when you open it up, after you open it up. So to explain what it is.
Okay, well
So before we do that, I want to just summarize what we just learned here, because I think that's the nugget that we want to promise in this broadcast, which is, number one, you're doing a platform presentation at the Kennedy Glazer event, 1,200 people in the room.
Yep.
You make an offer for the Gary Halbert system, which really was a consultation you paid for in the late 90s, $11,500.
I paid, yep.
And you're selling the transcripts and the recordings for $500.
Yeah, with a quick start guide and some things. I threw in some other bonuses.
Yeah, and look, I've got the product. It's amazing. It's really good.
It is amazing, and everyone here should buy it. Yeah, I'm not going to tell them where to get it. If they really care enough, they're going to track it down.
Here's what we'll do. We'll make sure that there's a link, because I'm going to make this video available to my friends.
I want to pretend I'm the sales prevention department here and not give them a link. Just make them. No, I'm kidding. Whatever. Okay.
So what ended up happening is, you essentially taught the robotic marketing process to the audience.
Yeah.
And there are 7 steps to doing that. Is that
well? There was lots of things I learned from Gary, but I taught like 7 things that I thought were most valuable.
Okay. So, and then what you did is you said, okay, now I am going to sell you something right now. You're completely transparent about it. I'm going to use everything that I talked about here and watch this video, and then I'm going to ask for your money, and I'm not going to do it live.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. And I also, after Dan Kennedy introduced me, because he actually did introduce me, I actually dissed on Dan a little bit as soon as he got off the stage, because you don't want to mess with Dan. He's too quick, he's too witty, and he's one of the most intimidating people on the planet. Yeah.
I've received 2 angry faxes from Dan in my life, and it's if you receive it, that apparently either means you're doing something very bad or very right.
Yes.
But either way, he doesn't.
Dan is he's one of the most interesting people on the planet. He's speaking at my conference this year, and I'm actually going to be co-authoring a book with him here in a few months. But basically, I had to diss on him a little. So I said when he was getting off stage, I said, Dan, if you were to get in a fight with Bill Glazer, you think you could take him? And he's like, oh, I can take you. And then he started insulting me a little bit. But he was off the stage, so I had better positioning. It's all about positioning, even if you're going to diss Dan Kennedy.
Very good. Very good.
That's a lesson that everyone should take. Yeah.
I agree. All right. So so the bottom line is, you make the robot makes the pitch. Around 500 people or so show up. They stand in line to order this thing, and there's a limited amount of time.
And we got all this on video. People can go on YouTube and even watch a video clip of these people standing in line.
Yep. So and again, you showed it to me. It's awesome.
It's insane.
It is. It's darn good. So let's move on to the next segment, which is your Paula talking card thingy.
Yeah. So, see, the whole speech was how to do robotic automated marketing, right? Because marketing is selling in advance. Okay, and people should really, if they are out there selling, but they do not have any mechanisms that are creating well-positioned people, then there's a lot more possibilities that they can add. And I call it ELF marketing: easy, lucrative, and fun, versus HAF, which is hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. The way that most people sell stuff is they have a hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating, or sometimes they make a lot of money, but it's hard, annoying, lucrative, and frustrating. And everything that I think about is this ELF. Can I communicate robotically? Do I have to be there? Will this sell for me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? That's what I've taught tons of people. I've made people millionaires. I even have like ELF-made millionaires, not self-made, but ELF-made, where they actually become millionaires using easy, lucrative, and fun marketing. Isn't that cute? I mean,
I think it's wonderful.
Think of a little Smurf right now.
Yeah,
I mean, seriously. You're blue.
I feel like
you are like my little Smurf right now,
I
Mike.
have bunnies jumping around in my tummy. And I'm feeling an immense amount of joy. Fuzzy. I mean, feathers, crystals, fuzzy bunnies, and slippers. I'm thinking about slippers right now.
Yes.
So
we are bonding with a very unique group of people on this video right now.
Yeah.
I hope they like it. I hope they have a sense of humor. If you don't have a sense of humor, I feel very, very bad for you, because it is hard to get through life. You know, one of the things, I have a friend.
You going to get off on a small tangent before we get back on
the point? I'm going to go back to this. Tim Ferriss, you know, in his original book, The 4-Hour Workweek, there's some cartoon.
Interviewed him at the studio, at the other studio, yeah.
Yeah, and there's this one cartoon that says, you know, the problem with being a super genius is dealing with all the stupid people in the world. You know, and I just wanted to throw that in there because I think it's funny.
I think it's fantastic.
Right, so I'm teaching the whole audience ELF marketing strategies, and right before I actually played the video sales letter, I talked about, okay, back then, you know, back in 1992 is when I was using my first free recorded message. Let's fast forward to today, and I still love direct mail. I love holding things in my hands. There's less noise in people's mailboxes. There's so much effort and energy put into online marketing, the web, social networking, you know, and the term hits, like how many hits you get to a website. I mean, I've always loved the phrase, you know, what does HITS stand for? Do you know what HITS really stands for?
No, what is it?
How idiots track success. And so it's like, how many hits have you actually got? It's like, well, who cares? How many people are actually, you know, do you have a relationship with? How many people are giving you money? And like, we live in this world where, oh, I have like 10 bazillion friends on Google Plus or, you know, Facebook or whatever.
I'm making a motion off camera right now that no one can see. So
yeah, you should see this. It's powerful. But anyway, so I said, okay, fast forward to today, where everyone's using internet marketing. How do you still use offline techniques but really create impact? So one of the things that Gary Halbert would always say is add theater to your marketing. I love theater. That means attaching things to a sales letter. I used to send out coconuts. I haven't done this in a while, like the shelled coconuts, with a smooth, you know, put a black marker. Don't be a nut. Call this 24-hour free recorded message with an 800 number. And we literally would staple priority mail labels on there, and we would literally mail coconut. When someone gets a coconut in their mailbox, and the post office will deliver this. I mean, it tends to go into the A pile. So Gary Halbert said, people of America, probably all over the world, sort their mail out over a wastebasket. And what you want in order to get your mail like read is you want it to land in the A pile, which is everything that is personal or appears personal, versus the B pile, which is everything that is junk or appears like junk. So one of the techniques I taught in the Glazer-Kenny thing was a new method of using theater in direct mail to promote my 25K group. So I've done a couple of events with Paula Abdul. Me and Brendan Bouchard did a couple of seminars with her called Star Power. We charge $5,000 a person, you know, teaching Paula how to be an info marketer, you know, great stuff. And so Paula is in my 25K group, and so we decided to come up with talking cards. Like you would
lift it up just a little bit for the camera. Okay.
So it's pictures of me, and it says a special message from Paula Abdul and Joe Polish. And I'm not going to open it up all the way. I'll open it, see, and it says, if you're a high-level entrepreneur who wants to join the most exclusive mastermind group in the world for entrepreneurs, visit the25kgroup.com. The25kgroup.com. We also have 25kgroup.com, but at the25k group, it's cool because it drives in there. There's a video currently. I may switch this out with Daniel Amen, who's in the group, Jeff Walker, Dean Jackson, the author David Bach.
Someone else even more famous than all those guys combined.
Yes.
Okay,
but
keep going.
Here's the point. So here's the thing. I wanted to say, how do you actually get people Don't be a funny man here. Okay, I don't have to smack you. Just kidding. I love you, Mike, very much. I wanted to like actually bypass someone actually having to call a free recorded message. I wanted them to get pitched the moment they opened up the thing. Now this is clever. Everyone that has half a brain will see what I'm about to show them and listen to this and see the application. It's a blatant pitch from my 25K group, but it's in Paula's voice, and this is what they hear. Listen.
Hi, this is Paula Abdul. Joe Polish's 25K group has changed my life. I know that's a bold statement from someone who has had what most would consider a lifetime of success, but it's true. See, I was looking for my next reinvention and was seeking the best business insight to take my career to a new next level. And I knew with Joe's group, I would be surrounded by the brightest business minds in the world because it's designed that way. I knew I'd have Joe's cell phone and access to his network and Rolodex and all the resources through every 25K member. I talked to a few folks before joining, and they said if I didn't make my money back from the very first morning, that they'd be shocked. Well, they were right. In fact, I've made some multi-million-dollar deals with several 25K members right now. This is such a special group because it's a close family of world-class talent driving and supporting each other to their best success. If Joe invites you to take the same advice I was given, don't think about it, just be daring and do it. If you want to know more about Joe Polish and my experience with Joe Polish, visit the website that's included with this card.
So one of the techniques that we're actually testing is we're doing personalized URLs, which is like a website. They'll say 25kgroup.com/the person's name, and then they will go there and it will be specifically, targeted with their name. That's very personal. Now the point is, that requires a lot. That requires going overseas and getting these produced. That requires getting Paula or anyone to actually give you an audio, a testimonial, whatever you're going to do. But this is theater. When someone gets something like this in the mail and they're targeted, that's powerful. It's someone that's well known. It's someone saying really nice things about me. It's driving them to a website. It's capturing their name. I mean, there's a lot that's going on here, but this is not complicated. This is ELF marketing. And how difficult would it be to actually do this one at a time? What am I going to do? Call Paula and say, hey, Paula, everyone you talk to, I'd really like you to tell them about 25K. But that is canning and cloning Paula. That's canning and cloning me, and that's putting it out there. And so the point with, I taught several of those sort of methodologies, and then I sold a program from Gary Halbert which taught all kinds of stuff on how to do that. And so by the time the audience got the offer that was delivered through a free recorded message, it's pretty powerful. So they bought. I had a high closing rate. And the beauty of it is when you use robotic things, like one of the things I taught was I showed my bio video, a 3.5-minute video of me with a bunch of famous people, consulting clients. I'm giving my consulting rates in the video. I'm 25 grand for half a day for consulting right now, which I should raise it because I'm
positioning.
Totally. You hear what I'm doing here? I mean, this is kind of a subtle way to say, oh, I'm like really expensive. That's why you think you should think I'm so cool and smart. Part of charging high fees, though, just to be true, Dan Kennedy says this, is looking at someone with a straight face while you're quoting the price. But you really got to be able to deliver.
Absolutely, I mean, it's about value, and I don't. The haters will get you pretty soon, if not. So
well, and even the haters that can't compete with you will criticize you because they're
jealous.
Yeah, they can't do what you do. But so I taught all that stuff, and I delivered it through a video sales letter. So the takeaway here from everything I said, every person, if there's an application, should have a consumer awareness guide, a 24-hour free recorded message. You should have this on your website. You should have a video. You would be well served to take some sort of theater like this and actually do direct mail with it. Have a bio video that is not you saying how great you are. If you're ever going to speak, or if you're just going to do teleseminars or webinars, or you have a small carpet cleaning business, we have consumer awareness videos that is the same content put in a video, and that's the deal. And so, that sort of thing. And there's someone's phone that's sitting here charging.
That's yours?
That's not mine. That's your phone.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's your wife calling right now.
Oh my God, we should ignore her.
We should put her live on this video.
I don't know if we should do that. Yeah.
And see, here's what's cool. You can edit out everything like that, but I encourage you not to. I think we should just leave it in.
I think so. Yeah. I'm fine with that. So here's my takeaway from all that is, I agree completely. I mean, the robotic marketing thing, and that's, I've spent basically my whole online marketing career designing systems to automate marketing. I mean, that's really, because I completely agree with what you're saying. And in this case, you're doing a couple things that are really smart. One is you're leveraging the power of celebrity, okay? And that being able to have her say something like that and basically do the pitch for you, there's the worst thing you can do is be talking about how great you are all the time. The best thing you can have is someone else talking about it, right?
Infinitely more believable when other people say great things about you.
And when it's celebrity endorsements as well, or a flat-out celebrity testimonial, that's also very, very good. And as you talked about, there's a lot of different ways of delivering it.
Right.
That card is one. And I'm a huge believer in Dan Kennedy's stuff. I read all of his books. Anytime you even hear that one's coming out, I've always ordered ahead of time. Bill came out with outrageous advertising and outrageous marketing, or outrageous advertising. In fact, I've got those videos. I don't know if you saw it. I did a bunch of videos with him.
You're going to show me some of them that you actually created that you were telling me about yesterday.
Yeah. And they're really good.
Yeah,
and so the whole point, here's just to cut to the chase, what Dan is saying is, in the last newsletter, I just got it like yesterday, he completely just says, social media is great, but the example he used in the newsletter is how he's reading the latest either Fortune or Forbes magazine, and of course it was targeting CEOs and driving people to a social media event and why it's so important. He says, just a load of poop, because number one, they're marketing this thing in a magazine, and then the way to register is to call a phone number, and it's a live event. He said if social media works so damn well, they wouldn't need the magazine, they wouldn't need all this stuff, and they'd be delivering. Why don't they just deliver the whole thing online? And he goes on and on. He's like, I love the idea, but he says the fact of the matter is it's nonsense for the most part, and direct mail is even better. It's always been better. And he also goes on to talk about Yellow Pages and how effective they are. But what's happened are the rules have changed, because in a lot of ways, for a lot of businesses, Yellow Pages don't work as well as they used to. But it means you've had to adjust your strategy, just like in direct mail as well. But
and let me say something, because you're saying some really important stuff that I want to play off of. And by the way, after I kind of go through this, I'm going to ask you some questions.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Because you could answer a lot of the stuff you talked about in the beginning. Right now, yesterday we were at a webcast, which Dean was doing some stuff with real estate, right? And basically, we live right now at the time we're actually doing this this video. You can get real estate's pretty much rock bottom.
Yep.
And I look at advertising space as real estate. Like if you're going to run an ad in the Yellow Pages and you're going to run a half-page ad, just like if you were to buy an acre here in La Jolla. I think I don't know if we're not really right in La Jolla, but we're close.
Right now, but close, yeah.
Yeah, so if you're going to go and buy an acre in La Jolla, that's a pretty, it could be a very pricey piece of property.
You can buy a house and an acre for less than you can buy an acre in La Jolla.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the point is you can put a trailer, a beat-up trailer on that acre, or you can build a beautiful home that's worth millions of dollars. It's what you do with the space. And so, if you're going to go on a magazine, if you're going to go on a postcard, I look at everything as real estate. And if you're going to use up the real estate of a website, you better put something pretty awesome there. And if it doesn't work, don't blame, because even to this day, the internet doesn't work, social media doesn't work. There's a lot of things that really, they try to, like the whole analogy, well, why are they running out of magazine? Well, yeah, exactly. Okay, there are situations where certain medias are better than others for certain things. When it certainly comes to making money, you better have a pretty damn good message. Going back to the three things you need to sell something. You need a product or service, you need a sales pitch, you need a delivery system. Here's what most people do in order to sell what it is they sell. Here's my glop. Here's my product or service. Let's just call it glop, okay? And here's how I'm going to deliver information about my glop to the world. I'm going to put a website up. I'm going to do an email campaign. I'm going to have a fan page. I'm going to do a postcard. I'm going to do face-to-face selling. I'm going to do TV. I'm going to do radio. But if you don't get the frickin' sales message right, the marketing message right, all you're going to be doing is delivering a really lame, mediocre message about your glop. But if you get the middle part right, perfect. And there's two things that people really need, and there's a lot to be said about this, is marketing is what you say and who you say it to. It's your list, it's your offer. And people say, well, I'm going to do a direct mail campaign. What sort of response should I be looking for? And the answer, and I didn't come up with this quote, is between 0 and 100% depending on the offer and the list.
Yeah.
Like what should you expect out of your marketing? Well, between 0 and 100% depending on the offer and the list.
That's how I start a negotiation, by the way. Someone will say, well, how much does it cost? And I'll say, well, I want $1 billion and you want to pay $1.
Yeah.
So, or you want it for free. So I know we're going to find the answer somewhere in between, and that's basically the way marketing works. For sure.
I remember this pickup artist guy that was on like a talk show years ago, and there was like this woman that was on the show that was like admitted to be a gold digger. She would go out with guys, and she would just have them buy her dinner constantly, and she had a dog at home, and she said she would even get like a lobster to go for her little poodle or something.
Oh,
I mean, she really said this on TV. And so, and then there was this other guy that was a pickup artist that was, basically, saying he could pick up any woman, whatever. And one lady in the audience said, well, you and this guy should go out. And she said, I wouldn't go out if, he paid me $1 million. And he leans over, he goes, we've at least now established what you are. Now we're just haggling over price. And it was so funny. It was classic.
That's true.
But
well,
anyway.
it's the, I think Churchill had something like that. It's the comment about someone being a whore.
Yeah,
or something like that. So that's fantastic. So, all right. Yeah, that's great. So here we are. I love marketing.
I love marketing. Why do you love marketing? Let me ask you that. Why do you love marketing?
Oh, that's a good question. All right. Yeah, it's your turn to ask questions now, and then we'll wrap this up for our friends. Well, we're providing valuable information. So
No, I think in a lot of ways you're thinking, when are we going to get to it? When are we going to get to it? If anyone was watching this video from the beginning and didn't pay attention to some of the techniques, look, if someone puts together a 24-hour free recorded message and they start putting it on their business cards, on my Twitter page, which is twitter.com/Joe Polish. The first week I put up a 24-hour free recorded message on Twitter, I sold $3,000 worth of stuff. How many people are selling things off their Twitter page? Because I take people offline in an environment where they're not expecting someone to be pitching them, and there's a 24-hour free recorded message and someone could have a mobile. Everyone still has a phone. People, there's more mobile phones than computers and televisions and everything on the planet. I think there's more phones than perhaps thimbles. Or blenders, maybe even. But there are a lot of phones out there, and so people have access to a phone. So everyone that's watching this, if you think we're rambling or going on tangents, which we are, because we're both insane, that's fine. But there's great technique here. Yeah. Consumer awareness guide, free recorded message, video sales letter. All the things we talk about is very relevant, even if they had to muddle through our shenanigans.
Yep. All right, so to answer your question.
Why do I love marketing?
I love marketing for a bunch of reasons. One of them is I love human psychology, and I love figuring out why people do the things they do. Mm-hmm. I love to buy things. I love to sell things. I like to see how they work. Mm-hmm. And I like to understand why they buy it, why they make decisions. I love relationships. I really enjoy people, and what I like most about marketing is the idea that I get to try out ideas, you know, and present this idea of presenting offers. And I remember there's a couple of online marketers who say, well, Mike's a pitch man. Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't know if I'm a pitch man. I do love to sell stuff, and I like connecting. I like solving problems. Deep inside, my greatest skill is I'm good at observing complicated problems and solving them with technology. Right? It's like figuring out the fastest, easiest way of getting there. Mm-hmm. And I've got a couple of unique skill sets. One of them is technology and tools, and the other part is, I've learned marketing, but I didn't really understand marketing. Every year that goes by, I'll go well, what I knew a year ago is almost irrelevant, right?
It's a very interesting industry because the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know and all the nuances.
Yeah, it's true. And thankfully, we've had unbelievably gifted mentors.
People
folks like Joe Polish, for example. Yeah, but seriously, Kennedy and Halbert to me are the two greatest. Yeah. And then I go back, and Joe Sugarman was one of my great mentors, and so.
That bastard did more pull-ups than me when he was in his 70s.
Oh, yeah,
We're at John Butcher's house, the guy who started Precious Moments and Lifebook, and Joe Sugarman did more pull-ups than all of us.
I know, he's a bastard that way.
Ridiculous. He's 73 years old right now and can do over 20 pull-ups.
Same age as my dad, actually. And so, I watch him, I'm like, oh, that skinny little bastard.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, so...
A lot of jealousy and resentment that takes place with human beings.
I understand. So, I know, to sum it up, I think it's a beautiful art form. You have an opportunity to market with technology, with human psychology, with video, with music, with animation, with television. I consider it. So I know there's people who will curse this, perhaps. It's an art form. It is my art.
Yeah, you said this yesterday. You're in the entertainment business. Yeah. We are in the entertainment business.
That is
Although both of us are probably not very entertaining. But we are in that business.
That's the truth. I have made movies before. I have produced music, and growing up, I wanted to make video games. Well, my first real company was Digital Cafe in 1989 to 1999. One of the biggest things we ever did is we designed a video game built around and based on the Doom. You remember Doom? It was like that first-player shoot-up game. And we created a game called Chex Quest that shipped in 6 million boxes of breakfast cereal for General Mills.
Wow.
And the whole product was sponsored by AOL. So they paid for the CD-ROM. So, the bottom line is, at that point, to get a CD made, and millions of them even, you'd pay almost $2. Well, we had negotiated around 80-some cents, and they're all packaged. And it increased cereal sales by 237%. And to this day, you can go search for Chex Quest online. There are still people who were kids back then who still design levels for the game, who hacked the game, and I still get fan mail. I swear to God.
That is crazy.
And this is going back to, let's say, 90-something. I mean, we're talking 15 years ago. So, and look, I deep inside I was a frustrated filmmaker. Why did I produce the documentary that I just finished making, this Life with Tesla documentary? It's because I love filmmaking. And but I've thought a lot about marketing documentaries. So I recently pitched a very, very large company doing a couple $100 million on a few ideas revolving around this, and immediately they said, yeah. And we're talking, they'll give me part of the company or the upside in exchange for this. So the opportunity to be creative and expressive and to experiment with human psychology and become wealthy beyond imagination with an art that's fun and interesting, where you can literally take every skill set and every form of art and every form of expression and roll it all in and have fun. And I will add, in all sincerity, you're one of the most interesting people. You're in my top, people in my life who I trust completely, and we always just have a blast hanging out and making fun of each other and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly, that's the best part.
It is, but I mean, you've introduced me to some of the most interesting people in my Rolodex as well. Definitely some of the most valuable people in my life, who are all also, they resonate on a high frequency, because there's a difference between being a slimeball marketer and being a marketer that wants to make a difference and leave a massive impact and cause change. You're very philanthropic. You've given away millions and millions of other people's money. No, I mean, but you've given away millions of dollars, and you've changed a lot of lives. And it's also given you access to people who are virtually impossible to reach. Folks like Branson and all that, right?
And I'll say something to that too. I mean, a lot of charities are simply cosmetic. They're all for show. And they just try to pretend like they're trying to do stuff. And like when I went to enough events where everyone gets in really nice clothes and very sort of elegant sort of dinners, which has always made me uncomfortable, because I grew up, I spent half my life living.
You're dressed to kill right now, for example. That's one thing. There's no doubt.
No. I mean, I have a ton of suits and stuff, but I quit wearing most of them a long time ago.
Most of them have a little red nose, and there's stripes and plaids, and I mean,
I have some extraordinarily cool ties. I have probably 50 ties that I never wear. I'm going to send them all to you. Maybe you can come up with something to do with them. But I got to the point where I went to a bunch of charity events, and they're, everyone's dressed up and they're doing auctions, and that's all cool. I'm not saying someone shouldn't do that, but I thought, what if we actually took all of the knowledge of all these people in the room and we actually tied it into where people would donate money, but they'd actually learn something. Like, let's tie it into a valuable discussion. And so that's what I started doing. I started doing that with Richard Branson, like the trips that we do on Necker Island. And do I get a lot out of it? Absolutely. I get to link myself to Branson, I get to hang out with him, I get to meet a lot of incredible people. It's a big door opener, but we also get to raise a lot of money. And so it's a lot of the things that we're doing with Genius Network interviews and with Make-A-Wish and all that stuff. But the thing I want to say to that, because it ties into what you're saying, is marketing opens doors that cannot be opened any other way. I never in a million years, when I was growing up, I'm an introverted guy by nature. I learned that you have to go out and talk to people, because that's how you get checks. You really do. You have to go and associate with people in order to get them to buy things, to give you money, to make things happen. And I always thought of that which you don't, that which you fear but you don't face controls you. That which you fear, but that you face or take steps to face, and you can control it or at least get much better at it. So I've always said, get out of my comfort zone, get out of my comfort zone. And so through marketing, it allowed me to figure out how to communicate with tons of people without having to subject myself to things that really mess with my introverted tendencies. With, how do I talk to a bunch of people without physically having to talk to them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Saying like that. And so that's why I really love marketing. But, you asked earlier about, and I think you're touching on this, so I'll just assume that I understand where you're kind of going with this and just talk about networking in general. I don't think of networking just as going out and meeting people. I mean, that's cool to meet a lot of people, but you know what? I have a lot of relationships and there's a lot of people in the world, and so I want to meet the very best people. I tend to pursue people that are industry transformers, people that have literally gone into an industry and transformed it. And most real transformations, most breakthroughs in life were not well accepted in the beginning. They're people that totally buck the system, that are rebels, that are radical sort of thinkers. And in order to have a breakthrough, you got to break something. I have no tolerance for mediocrity. I just simply don't. And I'm a big fan of Schumpeter's creative destruction, where you creatively go in and to destroy something, kind of what you're talking about with the educational system. It's going to be entrepreneurs. The future belongs to the entrepreneurs. The future belongs to capitalists, and not the capitalist crap that is perpetrated by morons like Michael Moore, who, when I say moron, he's a very smart moron, okay? The guy's very calculated, very smart, but what he creates a movie called Capitalism, which has nothing to do with what true capitalism is collaboration between individuals exchanging value for money, not corporatism, which is what he goes on and expose, that sort of stuff. It's a completely different thing. There's not even enough time to go into that, but capitalism...
Let's just give him a giant turd award.
Yes, we should.
All right.
Yeah, here's a guy that makes his living slamming the exact people that live the exact way that he
Well, and also how he's frankly made an immense amount of money and impact as well. Basically, he's a capitalist storyteller.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I love to interview
him. Let's not give him any more time.
No, but here's the thing. So networking, I don't look at it as just networking. I look at it as having a genius network, where you create a network of people that have genius. Network is like the marketing term. I have Genius Network Mastermind, which is what my 25K group is. I have my Genius Network interviews. I have a Genius Network show that I'm going to start doing.
But you're not selling anything right now or plugging anything, but keep going. Okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you picked up on that. So that's very funny, Mike.
Thank you.
Can we stop and just pause?
I think if I remember correctly, you were asking me questions, but keep on going on and on, please.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'll just keep with this sort of flow.
I like this.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Genius Network is you create a genius network, smart people. Then you do genius networking. You start thinking at a different level of how you actually network. You're like, okay, where am I really spending my time? In order to have a genius network, you got to be a genius networker. Okay. So there's genius network, genius networking, and being a genius networker. And if you tie those three together, you will just function much differently. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you may not even call it that, but that's what you do too. The reason that you know all of these people, like what you're doing here in the studio, is you're creating an environment so that you can bring people in and do things that they simply cannot do to communicate it out in the world. I mean, you have a genius network. You have a great, and you said a bunch of nice things about me, and the same goes with you. You've introduced me to some incredible people, some incredible wisdom. And what allows us to do that is we started studying marketing. Right. And marketing was the vehicle to where me and you got access to the things. See, marketing just isn't about making money.
Yeah.
Marketing isn't just about how to persuade and communicate. Marketing is about creating access. And if you want access to everything in the world, you better freaking get good at marketing. Yeah. And if you want to be shut out from money, relationships, knowledge, wisdom, insight, groups, don't learn it. Don't pay any attention to it. Poo-poo it. Say it's all bullshit.
Yeah. And I'll go so far as to say, I talked about this. I did an event recently, and I talked about the value of platform. And the value of,
platform shoes, like in the Gonna Get You sucker. Remember that movie?
I'm talking about goldfish in plexiglass shoes.
Exactly.
With a dingleberry
Remember Chris Rock and that? It's like, how much for an order of ribs?
How much for the
$2.50.
rib? $2.50.
About 50 cents a rib.
How much for a rib?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
That's a great movie. Everyone should watch Gonna Get You Sucker. It's
that was
freaking awesome.
Unbelievable.
It's like the black version of Airplane.
I actually was talking to a cabbie in Las Vegas.
Yes.
And he looked like Samuel L. Jackson, and he talked like him too. He was unbelievable. And
I will say this. I peed next to Samuel Jackson when I went to the Oscars in 2006, and he was in a full leather outfit, and it was very bizarre.
I got to tell you one thing. Do you remember when he walks out?
I want this kept in this video, by the way, so I want to say that.
Oh, well, you know what? We're not doing any post-production.
Okay.
Pulp Fiction, gonna go shake hands with the man. Seriously, one of the best lines ever in a film. Am I right or am I right?
You are absolutely right.
All right. So, what in the hell were we rambling about? Access. So basically, I was just saying the most valuable thing to me is platform. You could take away all my money, all my resources, all this stuff, and as long as I've got access to the people I know, in 90 days I could build it all back. 90 to let's say 90 to 6 months. Okay. Because its access is more valuable than any money ever, for sure. And you earn access. It's like reputation, right?
That is, you're not entitled to anything. The world does not owe you nothing, and you should not expect the world to give you anything without creating value for other people first.
That's
and marketing is the ultimate leverage. Leverage is maximum results, least amount of effort. Productivity is maximum results, least amount of time. I try to pursue knowledge in areas which will give me maximum productivity and maximum leverage, and I try to seek people out that do that stuff, and I also do everything I can to not associate with losers. In the marketing world, as in any industry.
Psychic vampires is what I call them.
There's a lot of people we know that are very clever, and you can learn really interesting techniques from them, but you would never want to do.
I suspect there's a giant butt coming up.
Yeah, but you would never want to do business with them. Yeah. So my whole thing is learn from as much as you can. But I really love the world of marketing because I don't know anything that can give someone more access. Let me say this. I asked Richard Branson on my very first interview I did with him, the one we did over the phone, how do you use your time? How does Richard Branson, a guy with 50,000 employees and all the different several hundred virgin companies, $25 billion in revenue, how do you
actually... A virgin company, imagine that.
A virgin company, yeah. And I said, how do you spend your time? He said, well, 40% now on his, philanthropic activities, 10% on fighting fires, 25% at looking at new deals, and 25% on marketing. So you got a billionaire, and he says 1/4 of how he spends his time in business is on marketing. If that doesn't say there's something kind of important about that topic.
And if you gave him an opportunity to get rid of one of those and spend the rest of it on something else, I'd put money on it. He'd say, if I could get rid of fighting fires and spend all that time on marketing, I bet you'd take it up. Maybe on philanthropic stuff, but
And you couldn't look at other business deals if you weren't able to market.
Simple
people always, anyway.
All right. So I'm going to just tell you a couple things that I got out of this last exchange, which is I have a business and life philosophy, which is I have made a decision to only spend time with people I want to grow old with. Okay, that's how I filter everything now. It's my lens. So if they don't pass my I want to grow old with you filter, I give them no time. Okay. Now I'm talking about high level access relationships. But I've had an enormous number of people say, that has shifted their mindset on that one thing, and it certainly shifted mine. So I'm glad to take credit for that. But anyway, so do that again.
I was making gestures. Okay, by the way, so everyone can see, you take your hand, you go like this, and you just do that. And I was
you can do it to the close-up camera there. Go ahead.
Oh, I can. Okay, like that.
That's very nice. It was very attractive.
Yeah.
All right. So the second one is. You say you spend your time focusing on industry transformers, and I created this character, the Disruptosaurus. It actually was at a.
I got some dinosaur jokes. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, okay. So this is fantastic. Anyway, the whole idea of I use it as a model in my own mind, which is how can I constantly be a Disruptosaurus, not a dangerous one that leaves too much destruction in its path and in its wake, but it's like. Disruption is a necessary cause, and you call it creative destruction. Yeah. But I'm also looking for other disruptosauri. It's like, and And I consider disruption to be not only necessary, but it's a great skill set, and you look for it. And people who change worlds, true revolutionaries, are not evolutionaries, right?
Yeah.
All right, so one thing we're going to do is, you can answer or ask me another question.
Okay,
let's kind of wrap this up, because one thing I'm going to have someone else do is, if they go over to my computer, there is a screen that's up right now that hopefully is up, and tell the air conditioner to stay on for another. It's on the big monitor to the right, straight ahead. See if you can add it and tell it to remain on for another 30 minutes, because we lost our air conditioner. This is one thing about Sunday, is our facility here shuts its air conditioner off.
I think it's awesome, though, because
to be in a
sauna. I love the whole sweating.
Okay, good.
So what I wanted to ask you about was social media.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked a little bit about it, but to give some real context on what is the Mike Koenigs perception of all of these different ways of connecting with friends on all the different social media sites. I mean, what is the intelligent, smart way to use them for business? Because obviously for friendships, they're great ways to connect to people, but simply for clients, prospects, business, what's the right and wrong ways to do it?
All right, so interestingly, I was just thinking about this a lot this past week. I was with my son at chess camp, and it's not as uber nerdish as it sounds, but it was really very, very fun. And I had, for the first time in months, literally a little bit of downtime where I got to just think. And I started feeling weird, because it's like, how much time do I spend on Facebook and LinkedIn and all these sites? And the answer is almost none. Okay, although I've got a business built around this idea of social media, and here's what I've done that's important, and I'll tell you what people do that's a complete waste of time, which is, it is incredibly valuable and important to have profiles on. And in order, for me, in order would be Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and then have a Flickr account. And Flickr is where you just put all your pictures. Why? Because Google loves those, and of course Google Plus too, which is kind of the latest, newest doodad. And Google Plus is basically Google's version of Facebook. They're just going straight after them, and they actually are thinking through things in a very, very good way. Now, which one wins? Frankly, I don't care. If you take a look at my businesses, so Traffic Geyser being the first one, and then Instant Customer being the second big one. We've got a third platform coming out right now. Traffic Geyser built our entire business by being parasites on top of a whole bunch of video distribution, content distribution, and social media sites.
Right.
So other people were spending hundreds or tens of millions of dollars building technology platforms, and we're just agnostic. Basically, it was like, put your content in Traffic Geyser, give it a name, press a button, and we syndicate and distribute it to over 100 locations at the click of a button. That's the big promise. Now, of course, there's all kinds of things that pop up, because all these sites, some of them are up for a little while, and really, we don't care. 10 of them could be up during 1 week, and then 5 of them could go down, but we're going to find 5 or 10 more, and Google didn't care for the longest time. Things have changed a little bit in terms of what works best now, but the bottom line is, stick it in there, press a button, boom, all over the place, and Google says, oh, you have a whole bunch of content that points back to your website, you get lots of free traffic.
Yeah.
Okay? It worked like a charm, and still does on a lot of levels. Again, the rules have changed, because now what Google likes is, what is your social presence like? In other words, they pay attention to your reputation. Google determines your reputation based upon how many people follow you, how many people comment upon you, how often the conversations take place, and how many incoming and outgoing links are going to your thing. In other words, the way I always liken it is, if you were in a crowd of 50,000 people, for example, and the person in front of the audience said, who here is the best at fill in the blanks here, right? And everyone in the audience would probably raise their hand and say, well, I'm the best at it. But then if that same person would bring out a celebrity and then say, I'm going to introduce you to the best fill in the blank here that's ever existed, and go on and talk about your character and all the results, and say that person out of 50,000 is Joe Polish. Right. He's the best at whatever. And then if you asked everyone who's the best in the room, a huge percentage would have a reason why you're going to be the best.
Yeah.
Okay? So the whole point is, Google's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And what Google thinks is becoming increasingly unimportant. Okay? Now you'd say, well, Google's where it begins, but it's a popularity contest of who has the most influence, who has the most people pointing at you saying you're the best. And it's just like real life.
Right.
Social media does finally represent real life. So going back to what's most important, I'll tell you what I spend my time on right now, and it makes me an immense amount of money. And it works, meaning a lot more people are hearing about it. I'll give you for example, and this is out of reach of a lot of people, so I'll start with what's in reach for everyone first, which is create profiles on all the sites. One more time, it'd be, again, I'd say, Google+, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, LinkedIn, Flickr, okay? And I'm sure someone will say, well, what about who cares? Whatever. It's like, it's a popularity contest. Right. The next thing is, make sure you have something to sell. You got to have a damn offer, okay? Right. Because a lot of people fiddle fart around and they tweet and they twaddle and they Facebook and whatever, and who cares? It's a complete and utter waste of time. Connect with people. It's like all you're doing is more one-on-one conversations. Retarded waste of time. I repeat, a retarded waste of time. Instead, what you want to do is know who the hell they are, what they're interested in, and give the most people the most amount of stuff that drives them to buy your stuff. Period, end of story. And the way that's done is not by saying, buy my crap and being a used car salesman. It's about engaging in a conversation that they want to hear so they get to know you, like you, trust you, and feel like they've got a relationship with you. So this is the part where I just did an experiment that so far has worked out very, very well. And again, it's given me an immense amount of access to opportunities and deals that I never would have had before. I produced a documentary called Life with Tesla. Okay, producing a documentary, and I've actually got a video on how to make a documentary and why to make a documentary.
That's cool.
You could literally hire a filmmaker for as little as probably $4 or $5 grand who could make a story all about you and talk about, without it being overt and all, how great you are. The point and purpose of my documentary is to give away free education on why you should have a green or greener lifestyle. And there's a whole bunch of arguments about, oh, well, it costs a lot of oil to make an electric car, and I know all the, I know what the haters and the retards are going to say, okay? Oops, did I say that word? I meant it. All right, so that was not politically correct, was it?
No, you're not a very politically correct
but
man.
I'm not. So all the, people who would rather complain and whine and point fingers and blame other people versus actually get off their and do something about it, right?
Exactly.
You know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
So,
I hear
anyway,
you.
the whole point is
coming from.
Telling a story, giving it away, and educating people on a benefit. In this case, my house is powered by solar, my car is solar charged, and I've been doing it a year now officially, 12,000 miles on the thing, and I give away the story on how it was done and why I did it, and it gave me access to Tesla and a lot of people in Tesla. I've been able to leverage this to gain access to big companies that would pay me an immense amount of money to do it with them and for them. And it escalates my value, just like you were talking about earlier.
Right.
So, I can legitimately go out and charge $50,000 or more per day to consult. And I do get paid. I mean, I can close a $100,000 consulting gig on the platform now. I've done it, right?
Right.
And so 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, I certainly could not have done that. So getting back to why social media, it's because you can take a content like this, put it on YouTube completely free. Websites are basically free. I'll have to get that in a moment. Yeah.
And it's his wife again, by the way.
And so the bottom line here is it's social media gives you access and allows you to connect with a lot of people. There's, I know the last stats I ran, 1 in 9 people on the planet have a Facebook account. Okay, so
wow, that's a trip.
It is. The problem with Facebook is anyone can find out who's following you and advertise and market to them and friend them. So in a way, you have no control over your client base if you're doing a lot of Facebook marketing. Okay, I'd say that's a giant downside. On the other hand, it means you can steal someone else's clients and customers. So
yeah, or their girlfriends.
Totally, yeah, exactly. Yeah. There is no loyalty anymore. The loyalty lasts as long as there's trust. Trust is earned, not paid for or given necessarily. You can manipulate it for a little while, but it's not a long-term thing. It's like any long-term relationship.
Right.
And what do people want? They want relationships. Social media exists because they want to engage in a conversation. So I only do social media for the purposes of creating a lot of conversations at once, as many as possible with the fewest number of moves. That's the only time it matters. Otherwise, my personal opinion is the less time you spend on email and on one-on-one communications, except for the most influential people, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
That'd be the bottom line. So I don't know if I answered your question.
No,
but,
absolutely. And I want to say this too, because it's takeaways, because I know we need to wrap up here. A lot of people confuse activity with accomplishment.
Yeah, that's true. And you can hand me my gadget there while you're chatting. Okay. And this will appear. You can continue talking to the camera, even though I'm going to take care of this. Yes.
Well, a lot of people confuse activity with accomplishment, and I run across all the time people that want to start businesses, they want to grow their business, and they don't have a sales letter. I think the number one thing that somebody needs before a website is a sales letter. And even if you're never going to mail a direct mail letter, as an example, to actually sit down and think of who is your ideal prospect, who am I communicating, what am I offering, what is the problem that I'm solving for a profit or attempting to solve for a profit, because that's what entrepreneurs do. They solve problems for a profit. And you actually sit down and you communicate in print what it is you have, why someone should care, and you can be very specific. For instance, my consumer awareness guide is a template. It could be 7 questions to ask if you're a web designer, 7 questions to ask a web designer. If you're a financial advisor, 6 costly misconceptions about hiring a financial advisor. It's all templates. Come up with whatever the number is, and actually draft and craft a communication. So, and if you want an easy way of knowing how to do this, just sit down and record yourself. Just talk and then have it transcribed, and then you have the rough draft of your sales letter. Most people could have a very successful business, in many cases a multi-million-dollar business, without even having a website, without doing any social media, without any of that stuff. And so what people do is they as Stephen Covey says, they major in minor things. They put all of their time and effort in things because everyone else is doing it. And one of the best pieces of advice I heard early on is look at what the majority is doing and do the complete opposite, and you'll have a much better chance of success. Classic. And that is always true. It's contrarian, but for the most part, conventional wisdom is usually...
Contrarian, but not cynical.
Yeah, exactly. And so, the point is just look at what the vast majority of people are doing and do the opposite, because the 5% of people that are most successful are willing to do and do the things that the other 95% are not willing to do. And so part of it is just going away from the herd. And I even spent 45 minutes on the phone with Dan Kennedy about 10 days ago talking about how he does not have a cell phone, he doesn't use email, and he doesn't use the internet. I mean, he literally does not go and look online. And I'm like, he said, it's probably cost me a little bit of money, but for the most part, the amount of time
I can tell you personal stories about how it's caused immense frustration, and I believe it's
on
to
the other side.
I believe it's to the point of idiocy. Okay, and the thing is I understand the reason why, and part of it is it gives him pride to say that and drive it home. The but is there are certain things that it's like. And again, I won't get into the specifics. I have a personal experience where we could have saved 10 days of screwing around and thousands of dollars and immense amount of frustration and misunderstanding with a tiny amount of flexibility to review some stuff. Okay, so I just think it's just like, just because you live in a cave and you're doing just fine doesn't mean you should live in the damn cave all the time, because it's more about being right than it is about doing the right thing and succeeding. And again, well, I don't know if I'd say that directly to his face, because he'd still want to
let's just send him this on DVD.
We could do that.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah,
and so, but here's the point. See, it's like finding the happy medium, because the takeaway is that when you stare at a computer screen all day, it literally is altering the neural pathways of the human brain. I mean, we're mutating ourselves looking at screen sucking, as my friend Ned Hollowell says, all the time. And so the point is like, Dan says, the internet in a lot of ways resembles kind of what happens in Las Vegas casinos, where people just plop themselves down in front of the slot machine and they just keep pulling the handle.
Completely and totally agree with that.
So the point is like, if you're going to use the internet, if you're going to use technology, which is, there's so much you can do with technology that I love it. I love the fact that you can do all these incredible things. But the key is understanding the difference between technology is important, but psychology is infinitely more important.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand the psychology of the mindset of the person that you're selling to, what it is you're in the game for in the first place, the best way to win, you're going to waste your time meddling around with a lot of stuff. So I'm looking for the happy medium as best I can. Now, there's no perfect solution, right?
And it's varied. It changes.
So the whole thing is actually use it to accomplish your goals. Don't get used by it.
Yeah.
And most people get used by it. The reason that there's not a lot of accomplishment with some people is they just got their priorities mixed up.
And I would argue most people, but that's, it's an unfortunate reality.
Yeah, and so I will say on ilovemarketing.com, which is where we're putting this video, Dean Jackson, who's one of the most balanced, clearest thinkers that I know, my partner in I Love Marketing, he type in 50-minute focus finder. All the things that me and you talked about, all these ideas, and just listen to Dean Jackson explain that whole process about how to think, how to structure your goals, how to structure your time. I mean, I hate using the word time management. Most people understand it, though. It is truly one of the very best 50 minutes you will ever spend in your entire life on dealing with overwhelm, on dealing with where to start, on dealing with what's most important. And so I wanted to say that because it helps piece together conversations like this that go off in a lot of different directions. But all in all, I love things like this because it's simply creativity at work. And, as Gary Halbert said, the world advances on the backs of its neurotics. And so neurotic people like me and you, hopefully we can share some insights and, if nothing else, give people things to think about so that they can reach their bigger future, use marketing as one of the vehicles to getting them there, and basically be more, capable, confident, entrepreneurs.
Handy capable.
Whatever.
Wasn't that wonderful? Yeah. So I've got one little thing. I'm going to drop in one shameless plug because a lot of what you've been talking about here.
Go for it. Hit it.
When you talk about creating the sales letter, I completely agree with that. Okay, which is I have been experimenting with an idea lately, which is I believe, just like in the idea of, Gary said you can get anything you want with a sales letter.
Right.
I think you can get anything you want with a keynote presentation and a video even faster. Okay?
Yeah.
And I've experimented with it, and it's given me immense access. In fact, access to, I told you about that exclusive group that I got accepted into recently. So go ahead.
No, what I do want to say, just because I say this thinking the exact thing. A sales letter could be audio, it could be video, it could be print, it could be online, it could be offline. So when I say sales letter, I'm using that as an umbrella statement to whatever you're going to communicate, whatever your message is, you want it canned and cloned and documented. I don't really care how. As a matter of fact, I think they should have everything. I think they should have all formats.
Right. And so there were a lot of things that led up to this, but the whole thing of what led into developing Instant Customer for me was I had a problem, which is I was bad at capturing leads and following up right away. And like many people, you get a big stack of business cards and you don't do anything with it. And so, and as I saw some things evolve, I was like, I know that if I can just present an opportunity or an offer to someone I just met as rapidly as possible, there's a high probability they're going to make a decision and say yes. Okay. Right. I have a new challenge in my life right now, which is I can sell more stuff than my companies can deliver.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm working on solving that, and it's a good problem to have in a way. It's a weird problem to have, but. So one of the things that the tool does, and we break it down in what we call 3 chunks, it's capture, connect, and close. So you want to capture leads and opportunities everywhere you go. Business cards, mobile text, email, voicemail, voice recognition, whatever it is. Dial it in. Connect with a consumer awareness guide, with a follow-up video, and do it in as many mediums as possible. So you want to use voicemail, mobile text, email, print. Now we've got print in there again with pearls, so you can measure and track everything. You know exactly what people are doing, and then deliver an automated teleseminar, or webinar, or webcast. We could turn this into a live or recorded webcast, but the idea of creating robotic marketing systems. So that was the original vision in putting the whole thing together. And I'm the first one to stand here and you know, as I've been saying,
You're
in
sitting,
some
by the
things,
way.
I am sitting as a flawed man who doesn't take my own advice all the time. It's like I get so busy building it and solving problems that I'm not using all my own tools, you know, which is, you know, we talk about that off camera frequently. But
hey, it's the curse of the being in the how-to world, you know.
yeah, it really is. So do you have anything else to wrap up on your end?
No, you know what I would say. This is completely like off topic and stuff. First off, it's thank you for having me come over and see your studio and kind of
And
showing
rob time on a Sunday from my family. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're a bad person.
Thank you. I know that. I know that already.
This has been cool, and I really like having discussions about random stuff because it allows me to have a lot of food for thought, and it's cool that you can just kind of pop in and instantaneously produce a video of this quality, and this is it. I mean, once you push the button,
No, I
this
literally
thing's
will
done.
press one button and then press another button, and
He's had this fancy little thing here that
Yeah.
he's been punching on the whole time, which I don't even quite know how it works.
We just have multiple cameras. So right now it's both of us, then it's you, and then now it's me. Hi, how's it going? How's it going?
Yeah,
How's it going?
I mean, I think it's just super cool, and so and you know, there's a lot of people that run around the world not taking actions, and there's something that every person can do every day that could have a giant impact on another person's life. And I think what's most interesting is you go if you ever have been to a funeral, and I try to avoid them as much as I can, but you know, I think you're well served to basically look at people that you really admire and really respect, and let them know that while they're still alive. Don't wait till they have passed away and then get up at a funeral.
Did you steal my line from the interview I did with Dean yesterday? I
No.
swear to God,
You said that?
that was the biggest lesson I learned in my own life, and I had a big life-changing thing. I mean, an almost died kind of situation when I was about 18 years old. And my dad and I used to play. My dad plays guitar and entertains. He spends a lot of time in rest homes. So while I was recovering from this thing, I always played accompaniment guitar and bass with him, and I'd go to all these rest homes, and I would go talk to people who are still functioning, who could still talk, and I always asked them, what are your greatest regrets in life? And I was amazed. Part of it was the era they were raised in, but also I was just amazed at how many of them said, I never got to say I love you to my father.
Yeah.
And so,
actually, I've heard you say that.
Yeah, and I've made a point of really reaching out to everyone who's important in my life and just connecting them on that level. And it's like, I know this might be the last day of either of our lives, and I couldn't go on living not having said that most important thing, which is I care about you and I love you and I'm glad you're in my life. And
are you telling me that right now?
I am right now. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
is that sensitive? Did that make you almost want to cry?
A little, sort of.
Yeah, a little.
I'm feeling like I want to just hug you right now.
But thank you. But seriously, I mean, this is like some big stuff, and all this marketing stuff aside,
Well, no, and here's why I want to say that. No, here's the reason I want to say that. Marketing is about sharing that with the world. See, people live quiet lives of desperation, and as a marketer, I think the very best marketers in the world, the ones that not just sell stuff, but the ones that really bond with people, they'll buy from you in the beginning. Gary Halbert used to say this all the time. They'll buy from you initially because they want what you have. They'll keep buying from you because they like you.
Yeah.
And people know when you don't like them. People know when you don't care. I mean, they may not know immediately, but if you hang around enough, they're going to know. And if you really care about people, if you really care about your clients, if you really have value to share with the world, then quit sitting on your ass waiting for the day when it's going to be right, or in some cases when they're gone, so you can sit and talk about how you admire them. Go out to the world and put sunshine out into the world. Be a fountain, not a drain. Tell people that you care about them. Right now, write down, literally. I mean, I hate in books where people do this exercise in the middle of reading the book. You just want to keep reading the book, right? And I'm going to kind of violate that and say,
right on top of this video right now. Take a permanent magic marker and then,
right on your iPad or whatever. But, seriously, think of, I have an exercise called the Genius Network. Think of the 8 to 10 most important people in your life right now, in your whole life, business and personal. Write them down and what is important to them. Because that famous Zig Ziglar saying, you can have anything that you want in the world if you help enough other people get what they want.
Right.
People always ask me, how do you connect with other people? I never ask anyone to do anything for me without creating value first. Why do we put I Love Marketing out there? It's free. I mean, we put it out there. We put great content out there because we just want to put great information out there, because some of these people are going to take what we say and they're going to do something with it, and that's what makes the world go around. So, tell your mother she's still alive. My mother, unfortunately, is not still alive. Tell her you love her, if you do love her. And, people that are important to you, share it. And marketing is the vehicle to put it out there. And a real simple technique, write 10 postcards every day to people that you care about. Real postcards. Snail mail, put a stamp on them, and mail them out. And if you do that for 1 year, and most people won't, most people won't, but if you did that for a year, your income will go through the roof, your bonding with people will go through the roof, you will be known as a person that they have probably immense amount of respect, and someone that just as well positioned with them. And most people simply won't do it. But if you did do it, it will change your life. It'll change your business. And that's just one out of many things. So that's, there's more I could say, but we'll wait till another future episode of I Love Marketing.
Let's do another one in here.
And thank you.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure, my friend.
I appreciate it.
Let's turn to the main camera right here. Thanks for watching. And what we're going to do is we are going to cut to a graphic, an I Love Marketing graphic, and we'll see you online soon.
Awesome. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.